the most funny thing to me was like Anthropic was alleging that it's this like DeepSeek, Minimax, Moonshot used over 24,000 fake accounts. And when I read that, I was like, only 24,000? Like, they need to get some crypto bot. It's like 20,000 accounts is not that impressive.
I'm a very big fan of Aave DAO. So I think it is a shame to see these service providers clash heads. But yeah, I don't think there's a negotiation I don't think there's a happy way out of this anymore, which is not good for Aave token holders. I don't know if you guys saw Morpho flipped Aave FDV, which is insane.
Hey everyone, I'm Kain Warwick and welcome to Uneasy Money, because what happens on chain never stays on chain. I'm here with my co-host Taylor Monahan, security expert, and we are joined this week by Namik, founding team member of MegaETH. Welcome, Namik.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Very happy to have you. It's going to be fun. We're going to dive into it all in a minute. But one quick thing before we start: nothing you hear on Uneasy Money is financial advice. We're just three builders talking about what's happening on chain, and we want you to always do your own research before aping in. You can find all our disclosures at unchainedcrypto.com/uneasymoney. Before we begin, here's a word from the sponsors that make this show possible.
The Energy Network is an intelligent, decentralized grid that coordinates smart devices to balance supply and demand. Energy Dollar is the native token of the network from one of Europe's fastest growing energy startups. Follow at Fuse Energy on X to find out more. Multi-Chain Advisors is an emerging technology growth firm that has helped create $50+ billion in enterprise value for 80+ clients over the past 4 years. They're the partner to help navigate markets. Build real traction today at multichainadv.com.
If crypto taxes feel overwhelming, you are not alone. That's why Crypto Tax Girl, a team that's been helping crypto investors since 2017, is offering $100 off on one-on-one crypto tax help. To get $100 off your crypto tax services, go to cryptotaxgirl.com/unchained. Again, that's cryptotaxgirl.com/unchained.
All right. So our first segment this week is make money by holding, which is quite a concept. I think we've forgotten that technology. So Brian Flynn this week wrote a viral article where he argued that most tokens are structurally broken because you make money by selling, not by holding. That turns alignment into a race to the exit. It's not alignment, it's just a race to the exit. So lockups, vesting, burns, buybacks, all of that stuff. He basically says it's kind of, band-aid solution, doesn't actually solve the underlying issue. You haven't aligned incentives. You just, built a game of musical chairs. And his proposed fix is, I thought it was going to be 100% unlocks at TG, but no. His proposed fix is 100% of protocol revenue, governed by token holders with direct distributions voted on transparently. Therefore, you don't profit by selling, you profit by holding. And this basically shifts competition outwards. So it's not, PvP. It becomes, more protocol versus protocol or business versus business. And he also points out the equity token convergence that we've seen from a lot of projects lately, Aave, Morpho, Uniswap, etc., are kind of like, half measures towards this idea of like, oh, here's a fee switch, or like, 20% of fees or whatever. But it's still a weird misalignment. And we've talked about this on the show many times, right? This like misalignment between token holders and equity holders, or token holders and some random guy down the street that has some, incentive in whatever the project is. So Namik, I know you and I have talked about this a lot, and I know you've thought about this problem, particularly when it comes to your own token. We've talked about this a lot in relation to IX as well. So yeah, I'm really curious your thoughts on this. What's your hot take here?
I mean, I think it's pretty accurate, I would say, the piece. Tokens are broken. It's because founders and investors have double dipped for too long. You have a token doesn't do much, and you still somehow have it be worth billions of dollars while value accrues to equity. So, foundations or someone somewhere gets a bunch of cash. I think that generally Brian makes a lot of good points. I will say it is a bit of a misnomer to say that no one's tried some sort of revenue-based relationship in the past. So we've seen a lot of protocols effectively give fees to stakers. It didn't work last cycle. We also saw people try to do buybacks last cycle. It didn't work either. None of it mattered. Hyperliquid obviously caught light.
Sorry, just checking the set. When you say last cycle, you mean like December 2 months ago, right?
Oh, I mean, Jesus Christ. I guess we're already in the bear market. Yeah, I meant black cycle.
Okay.
Back when people remember the thing called Cosmos, which is basically Ethereum now, I guess. But yeah, I think that there's a lot that, Brian describes, which is accurate. I think that he says basically there's 2 points for why this hasn't happened. One is, again, insiders were eating too good with the status quo. That's gone now. And the second point is people are afraid of going to jail or getting fines for securities laws. And that's a bit more of a difficult thing to approach. I don't know how much better buybacks are compared to rev shares. I'm sure that there's a way to do it. If there's a will, there's a way. But I do generally like the idea of creating a structure where people don't have to be sellers to be able to get upside in a protocol success. That does sound nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think like on some kind of fundamental level, and this is what we've talked about a little bit, is like everything has gone from being an investment to a trade. It's all just a trade, right? And trades, typically timeframes are shorter. So it's like, oh, Uni's doing the fee switch. That's a good trade for 48 hours. And then I'm going to rotate out of it and, do something else, right? And I think that has come a little bit from like the memification and perpification of everything, right? We've got perps for everything. Memes, 48 hours is a long time, right? Like 48 minutes is probably average holding time. And so when tokens switch to these like very short-term trading incentives and holding for a few days, it kind of breaks all of the structural incentives, right? And the only way to solve that is figure out a way that people want to hold your token. Like give people an incentive, give them some upside or whatever, such that they want to hold your token. And we haven't seen a lot of great examples of that. Like probably Hyperliquid, as you were going to mention, is like the best one that we've had this cycle, I would say.
Yeah, it's just difficult to underwrite tokens after you've seen what happened to every single one before. This time will be different. And it's really a question of like, okay, where are my equity like rights? How do I know that the team that I'm backing, and it's always a team bet in my opinion, how do I know that they are going to do what they need to do? I think that Kirby had a really good article that he posted today. It was about like Ethereum and how he's like upset of Ethereum, but it highlighted how much he loved Hyperliquid because he felt like there was a team that he could really back and really believe in. So until we have clarity on the equity token difference, I think we're going to continue to have a scenario where people just aren't willing to underwrite tokens.
Yeah, I mean, I think like it is interesting when you look at some of the kind of directional things that we're seeing, superstate, these ideas of like just make it equity, which people understand, but just put it on the blockchain, right? And if you can figure that out, maybe you get the best of both worlds. And I think there's something to be said for the benefits of like having clarity for someone who's holding an asset, that they know what will happen, right? And I think all went through a period of time where we were like, well, a DAO will solve that. You don't need the law because, there's a governance structure and a multi-sig or whatever. And it just hasn't worked out, to your point, right? Like, it just hasn't worked out that well. And there's only so many times you can do that and have it not work out well before you're like, actually, I don't want to play that game. Let's play a different game.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see how this all converges. My hot take is that bear markets are where you get more experimentation, and so people will try more things than they maybe tried over the last like 18 months. We'll see how that goes, and I do think that Leshner and some of the people out there that are like, hey, let's try something really radical, at least from like a crypto anarchist perspective of like just put the equity in the token. I think we'll see people really kind of open up the Overton window of like how you can structure this. But I think the core thing is like the dual model of like equity and tokens. No one's willing to talk about it.
You made a joke earlier. I'd love to get your opinion. Do you think the answer is 100% unlocks on day one? Because a lot of smart money doesn't want to bid tokens of such structural overhang. You look at any of these tokens, let's say that market cap's like 200 mil and FDV is like 2 billion. And you're like, there's no world in which we're going to be able to absorb this amount of new liquidity in the market. And it becomes very difficult to price. It becomes opaque. Sophisticated players are able to like do all kinds of hedging. Retail gets screwed. Smart money doesn't touch it. I guess, is there some truth in the joke you made?
Honestly, no. I think 100% unlocks are like the dumbest possible thing that you could do. And so it was kind of like a joke at the expense of like people who are like, oh, here's a bad thing about tokens. The solution is give me my money straight away, right? Like, it's kind of the opposite of what Brian's saying, right? Like, instead of locking people up, and this is an interesting thing, right? And full disclosure, I fully locked my Mega allocation for a year, right? Very happily, because I was like, I want as much of an allocation as possible. I know it's like 8 trillion times oversubscribed, so I'm just gonna like make sure that I maximize my exposure. And if I wasn't planning to sell it for a year anyway, then like that's positive EV for me, right? And I think that the people who are like 100% unlocks, no structural overhang, that's not how startups work. Like, let's talk about equity, right? Equity, two people, gosh, they own 100% of a company. Someone comes along and buys 5% of it for whatever, $10 million or something, right? $1 billion if it's an AI startup. And then like they're not worried that the two founders are going to dump on them 10 seconds later, right? Like they have to kind of grow into that valuation that's priced into the whole structure of the thing, right? Like, no one would give someone $100 million at $1 billion valuation if they thought that person had like a liquid exit the next day, because most people would take that, right? They'll be like, I got to hedge a little bit, bro. Like, come on, So I think like there's something to be said for you. The issue is not so much that a project or a business needs to grow into it can be a really high multiple and then needs to mature into the liquidity that will, eventually come on market. It's just that like, if you were to have 100% liquidity, no one's going to want to buy it, right? It's not going to actually solve the problem. No one's going to buy it. And the momentum is going to be terrible. So it's better to lock people up and give yourself a chance to grow into that valuation later and, actually like deliver some stuff, which is the whole idea, right? But this comes back, I guess, to the regulatory overreach where everyone's like, oh, we're not trying to deliver anything.
Yeah.
We don't like, we're just hanging out guys in Discord, right? Like there's no plan here. And, to your point, like people want to invest in a team. They want to back a team that's going to work really hard to do a thing. That's how incentives work, right? And the idea that like we're just friends hanging out in a Discord and we don't have any responsibility to, I think is a bit nonsensical. So
Yeah. If you want to hear like a super cute story, like back in like the early ICO days, I legitimately ask people around me, I was like, some of these projects are clearly like not gonna make it, and like what their pitch is like completely absurd. Like you think they're gonna go whatever build battery powered EV cars on the moon and return dividends to you. Like, I'm sorry, what? Like, why are people buying this? And the first person that I talked to was like, well, it's like a whole other, there's like a lot of reasons to buy things. It's not just because you believe in them or whatever. And I was like, but why? Like, because that's a silly idea, right? And the funniest thing about this is like, I have a front row seat to all this because they're all using my wallet, right, to buy in. I'm seeing the customer support tickets. I'm seeing everything. I have like very good indications of like what's going to make it and what's not. It took me like more than one like sellout ICO to be like, oh, they're buying because if you get in, they can sell at 2x, 10x, 100x the following day with like no risk, like the littlest amount of risk. And when I realized that, I was like, shit, like I don't want to be here. Like I don't like it. But it was like my idealism and like optimism was ruined. But I was surprised. I mean, okay, so that itself was not surprising to me. The fact that we've like gone so far down like just the nihilism rabbit hole over the subsequent decade, it does surprise me. Like I'm praying that at this point we finally hit rock bottom and been like, okay, like can we actually create value here? And like not every project is going to be successful, but when the market is only because of those sort of like low risk guaranteed returns, what are we doing, right? Like you're not going to have the long-term thinking. You're not going to have people trying to build stuff. It is always going to be a race to the exit.
The funny thing is though, right? Like you look at ICOs and you go like all the people who flipped like ETHLand or Link or whatever, they bought in the ICO and they flipped it, right? Those people I'm sure they wake up every day and go, oh my God, like the ETH ICO, right? Like there are a bunch of people who flipped things because they thought it was going to be like, a quick short-term, 2x or whatever. And then the thing went like 2000x and they have to live with that every day. So I think, it is like, unfortunately, just part of the game. And incentives are the thing that drives behavior, right? So, if you have a scarce resource that people know is going to go up in price and they have liquidity straight away, it's going to exacerbate the situation. More people are going to run towards that. They're going to run towards the fire, not away from it. Right? So,
yeah. Well, and obviously, and if you have projects that are trying to do the long term, great. Like that's fantastic. That's what of the thousands of ICO projects, we did have things come out of that were valuable, and that's good. That's great. The meme coins though are not really trying, right? At all.
Yeah.
So, thank goodness we have like some people that are experimenting and doing some different things. But I just the ecosystem's desire to sort of go full bore on the flipping of tokens. I don't know. I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised. And I'm also,
I think it's just like, it's partially a momentum thing, right? Like, trading gets shorter term, people's time horizon gets shorter term, then people are like, what if we make it even easier to do shorter term things? And then like, it just, there's this spiral. So.
Yeah. Well, and you're insane as a founder. If you're going to do a token, you're kind of insane to like think about the long term, right? Like at some point, like that's where you start getting like this nested shittiness, right? Because then how are founders being incentivized to not play that game when everyone around them wants to play that game?
Yeah. But I mean, kind of the same thing, right? Like there are a lot of founders who did an ICO and raised 5 mil or 10 mil or whatever and like blew it on, parties or whatever they did. And it probably was like a fun year or 18 months or whatever. And then they're straight back to being poor again. And the founders who are like, well, I'm going to stick around and build something here. And it didn't work out for all of them. There were plenty of people who stuck around and build things and it still went terribly for them. They got hacked or whatever. I'm sure we can think of a few that got hacked multiple times that were around in those days that were like very earnest and trying really hard, and they just kept getting hacked every month. And so, it's like, it's I think kind of a similar thing to like the ICO flippers, right? Like short-term people can do short-term things and like, okay, you put $1,000 in, you make $1,000, great. But like you're not going to end up being Stanny, who's built a thing over a decade that's worth, $5 right? Like that only happens with long-term games and long-term thinking. Which I guess leads us into our next segment. That maybe long-term. I don't know. We've talked about this a few times. Aave's civil war. I guess that's what it's escalated into now. And this one is kind of crazy. I was pretty surprised. Like I've seen some shit in the DAO insanity wars that we've seen over the years, and this one was like, I don't know where these guys go. So BGD Labs is not going to renew its contract. Even that is like kind of funny, right? Like what person ever has been like, stop paying me money, DAO? Like it usually goes the other way around, but they're like, listen, we're just not.
That's
it's crazy.
What? I'm sorry. What? Like,
so I was pretty surprised about that. So they were like the lead engineers. They built Aave v3, and the governance tension over the future of the protocol and v3 versus v4, the brand, the ownership, the distribution, all of that stuff, who owns the user, etc., has just like continually escalated until these guys, and my hot take is that this is much more about v3 versus v4 and like the thing they built versus the new thing, and pushing what they see as like a lot more risk, etc. Mark Zeller, who has been on the show, who is leads another DAO delegate, Aave initiative, and has been one of Lab's fiercest critics recently, said that it was devastating. His take was that it was devastating, and most of the revenue V3 generates today is driven by the BGD code and their innovations. He wrote, they saved Aave more than once. They've been the most productive engineering team this ecosystem has ever had. So yeah, all of that is not amazing. And I think this came out like 3 or 4 days ago, and there hasn't been retraction yet. So I guess maybe this is the thing that's going to happen. So yeah, what's your take on this?
I'm a big DAO guy, so it's very sad to me. I don't know why, but everyone thinks DAOs are stupid. I get it. Like everyone wants a benevolent dictator, but I've always been, at least ideologically, really big fan of DAOs, and we didn't have much to show for it. They all failed except Aave. So it's very painful to see this happening. I have like a lot of respect for like Mark and Stani, and I've interacted with BGD a bit, and they're absolutely integral to Labs. I'm just sad because I think this is almost like the nail in the back or the coffin of DAOs. With the new regulatory environment, you're seeing what's happened. Why on earth would you go and create a DAO now? So yeah, it's very messy. MegaETH has somehow found itself somewhat involved in it, which is a bit,
I thought,
unideal. But I don't know, dude. Bad luck.
So, no, dude, I totally 100%, like, I'm not the biggest fan of Dallas, but I find this to be just tragic on so many fronts because it just feels like it's theoretically avoidable and then everyone can go back to making money and being happy. And I think, like, Kain and I talked about this early on, and then we had Mark on the show. We kind of all assumed that it would. We were like, okay, there's drama, but, you know, they're all like, calmer heads will prevail. It'll be fine. Everyone's going to be fine. And then this past week, I feel like, wait, maybe not. Like, maybe we're not going to make it. And that just sucks. Like, it just sucks.
More for flip.
Yeah, so there's some brinksmanship going on that like feels like negative EV, but people like clearly there's like emotions going on in the background here where people are like, I'm putting my foot down this time.
Yeah.
I mean, one interesting thing, there was an audit, and I don't know how accurate this was. I guess it came from Aave, so maybe it's very accurate. My assumption is that Mark knows what he's talking about, but I don't know. That claims that Aave's been granted $86 million to date. Granted, or that's like their fee revenue or whatever. I mean, like on one hand, it's a lot of money, but it's a big org, and presumably that's over 5-6 years or something like that, right? So, it's not like an insane amount of money. There's crypto projects and companies that spend that every month. So I don't know. That to me didn't feel like a huge concern. But the fact that their core engineers left, that was a bit. I wasn't aware of that. That's kind of surprising. So, it's unfortunately everyone's like airing their dirty laundry at this point, and they're just like going to town on each other. So yeah.
I think to me, the 86 million, like, especially over the time period that we're talking about, not like, I don't have a problem with that number. I do think it's interesting that he's framed it though, that because like a lot of different people in the Aave ecosystem have gotten money under different conditions and stuff. But it sounds like the labs 86 million was sort of just like a free for all. Like they, like everyone else sort of had to go through these processes and do reports and stuff like that. But I guess labs maybe was had a different set of standards.
In fairness, right? The founders they're in a privileged position. There was a period of time, I would say, where labs, and I take Mark's point about BGD saving Aave, whatever. Like there was a point where labs was the only thing that existed for Aave, right? Like there was no now, there was no anything. It was like Stanny and like a couple of people in a room, and they managed to grind their way through 2018, 2019 and come out the other side. And very few other people did, right? So, I think like there's just stuff on all sides of this, and everyone has a probably fairly reasonable perspective that's just been, more and more fuel thrown on the fire, and it just keeps escalating. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
The situation is actually quite nuanced. So out of the 86 million, 30 mil came from the DAO, while the rest was from the ICO as well as Aave, I believe, venture rounds. So what I find interesting about this audit is like it obviously highlights that Aave Labs has a ton of tokens, right? So quarter of the token supply is sitting with the Aave team, I believe. So Aave Labs team. So I think that was a pretty important point. And then I think the second point that ACI was trying to make is that a lot of the success around V3 over the past few years was a function of BGD and ACI's work, while Aave focused on multiple business lines. I think that's the crux of his argument. I think it's a obviously tensions are high, but I think some of it is valid. I also don't think the $86 million number is that crazy given how important the Aave is and what Aave's been able to achieve in crypto.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
What's the like wait. What's the wave of magic wand like outcome that's like the best for everyone here? Not like ignore the DAO, ignore the drama, right? Like if you could wave a magic wand, like where do things land that make it perfect, happy, everyone wins? Do we know? Is there one?
At this point, it doesn't seem like it. There were points in this timeline where there probably was a chance to win this back. It feels like at this point there's no out here. Everyone's just escalating and pushing things further and yeah, it doesn't seem like there's a negotiation that's on the table here.
Yeah. I think the mental model is that Labs believes now is the time to kind of act aggressively to take Aave to the next level almost. And I think that, a lot of the pain points traditionally associated with DAOs and like working with a bunch of stakeholders, it definitely, I think, creates frustration and agitation. But yeah, I mean, I'm a very big fan of Aave DAO. So I think it is a shame to see these service providers clash heads. But yeah, I don't think there's a negotiation I don't think there's a happy way out of this anymore, which is not good for Aave token holders. I don't know if you guys saw Morpho flipped Aave FDB, which is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think one thing that's interesting to me about this is like there is an element of like family feuding sort of thing here. Like, the Aave DAO has actually been like so close. People are friends. And also, when that goes badly, it's like can get really ugly, right? Like, families starting to war with each other. So, I think that's also part of it as well. Is like people feel a sense of like betrayal and, you were my friend and, I thought that we were aligned and all of that stuff, which I think also kind of exacerbates the situation. So
I actually believe BGD founder was the previous CTO at Aave. So it's really, it's a complicated situation.
Yeah. Guys, you're supposed to tell me there's a magic wand. It's going to be fine. What the?
Maybe AI will come in and solve the problem quite about it. If you have a look.
Claude bot, get in here, dude. Fix our shit.
Yeah, they need more Claude bots. All right, before we continue, here's a word from the sponsors that make this show possible.
The world is about to see one of the largest infrastructure shifts of the century. New technologies are using more energy than ever before. But our legacy grids can't supply the demand, and we are barreling towards a global bottleneck. So Fuse is rebuilding it. The energy network is an intelligent, decentralized grid that coordinates smart devices to balance supply and demand. The network harmonizes existing infrastructure, increases grid capacity, and unlocks low-cost, clean energy. Energy Dollar is the native token of the network. The more electricity the world needs, the higher the demand for the energy network. The value of energy dollars may fluctuate. From one of Europe's fastest-growing energy startups. Follow at Fuse Energy on X to find out more. Multi-Chain Advisors is an emerging technology growth firm that has helped create over $50 billion in enterprise value for more than 80 clients, like Pith, MoonPay Commerce, and Wormhole. They've worked with some of the largest and most impactful companies in the space. They're the partner you want when you're navigating markets and trying to break out from the noise. They help navigate TGEs, go-to-market, BD, and partnerships, capital markets advisory, PR, media placements, KOL activations, and more, driving execution from launch to scale. Their results are measurable. To learn more and start building real traction today, visit multichainadv.com.
If you're looking for help with crypto taxes, Crypto Tax Girl is offering $100 off for Unchained listeners. They provide personalized crypto tax reports and returns, and spots before April 15th are limited. Go to cryptotaxgirl.com/unchained to save $100. Once again, the link is cryptotaxgirl.com/unchained.
All right. Speaking of AI saving us, there was news this week or yesterday, maybe, of this new AI distillation pack on Anthropic. So this is a bit of a strange idea, right? That like you can kind of reverse engineer a model by talking to it enough. It's not that strange if you think about it. Like if I spend enough time talking to Namik, I'd eventually be able to like get a good sense of what he might do, right? And so, you know, people have been China apparently has been creating these botnets to effectively create fake accounts, interact with Claude, and try and reverse engineer the models. Now, there's been some like anecdotal things, and I think some of these are like apocryphal, some of them are like semi-real, where some of the distilled open source models that have been coming out lately like think they're Claude, or like think that they're you know, some like Mid-Journey or whatever. And so, you know, there's probably some truth to this, I would say. I did find it funny. Probably the most funny thing to me was like Anthropic was alleging that it's this like DeepSeek, Minimax, Moonshot used over 24,000 fake accounts. And when I read that, I was like, only 24,000? Like they need to get some crypto bot like crypto bot bots in there. Yeah, it's like 20,000 accounts is not that impressive. So I think, you know, there's a whole bunch of considerations here, and I know that there was another thing that happened right before we got on, which is this kind of standoff between the U.S. government and Dario, where he's like, we're not going to let you build autonomous war bots or whatever it is that they wanted. And, you know, the interesting thing is that like these distilled models and open source models can strip out a lot of the stuff, right? Protections or whatever. Now, you know, some people are very anti AI protections and some people are very pro having protections built in. But, you know, there's no question that like, I mean, I think I said this last week, right? I went down this rabbit hole of you can plug Claude into a robot now. You can just get like a Raspberry Pi and plug it into it, and I've got a robot that's walking around. I haven't done it yet. I've got one of the Unitree robot dogs. So I'm hoping to find some time over the next couple of weeks and plug Claude into that. But so here's the thing, right? Like you get one of those robot dogs, and they're cool. They can like they can stand up on their hind legs and like roll over and stuff, right? But I have a real dog. Like my real dog's cooler, right? And also you like to do it, you've got to hold the remote. There's like a remote control, and you got to like be doing the remote control all the time, right? So like after like 20 minutes of that, I'm like, all right, I'm done doing this remote control thing, like walking around the house or like walking around the office or whatever. But if it was just like walking around itself and rolling over and like opening cabinets, shit, that would be, I'd be mad. And so, you know, my hot take is that we see the intersection of like LLM, inference, and robotics hit us like really soon, and it's going to be crazy. Like, it's one thing you're talking to Claude or Codex or something like that, right? And it's like doing crazy shit. Like Tay, you were saying how it like solved some thing for you, right? But like it's still in the computer, right? Like it's in the computer and you're talking to it, and you know, you feel a sense of control that it's trapped inside of the machine, right? If it just like grew legs and started walking around, right? Fucking weird, really quickly, I think so. But that's what's happening.
Yeah, well, and I had a fear. So me and Kain were talking about this before the show. But basically, there was a security incident last night, and it like sort of figuring out what happened required going through basically a huge code base, but like the output code base, right? So like the bundled, compiled code base, which is like 500,000 lines, and I was so impressed because the AI just like went to town. Normally, this takes multiple security researchers going through the lines, trying to find the patterns, decompiling it, de-obfuscating it. It was just like zooming right in and did it all super, super fast. The crazy thing, though, is that when we were doing some of this, there was, at one point, there was like a possibility that like they had accidentally bundled some keys that they shouldn't have, like some authentication keys that they shouldn't have. And I had this moment where I was like, wait, if I keep telling Claude to like keep going, right? Like figure out if that's the authentication key. What's the chance that he's going to just go try to log in and like just accidentally like hack their server? Like, I was like, okay, like, do I have any controls on this thing? But you can imagine if then you do that in real life. Bro, we're all cooked.
Yeah.
We're done.
No, it's like literally like walking around, like moving shit around in your fridge and like, oh, I think I got you some new food, and it's like, it's gonna be fucking weird. One thing that was interesting to me, I've got my like open claw machine, which is in one location that I'm oftentimes remoting into. It is this week. Claude CLI stopped working over SSH for me, and I was like, I wonder. I was able to get it working again, but like, I felt like they had some kind of detection that you were like not on the machine, that you're like remotely accessing the machine and forcing you to log in all the time. So they've clearly started to tighten controls on this, but I don't know how you can stop this realistically. Like, this feels like an intractable problem to me.
Sorry, now I was just going to ask, did you guys see the Lunar New Year's thing in China where they had the robots doing backflips?
Yes, yeah, I did see that.
That was insane.
Yeah.
If you look at last year to this year, it is insane. So yeah, dude, it's like it's over. Just enjoy life for the next like 6 months.
I feel
No, because you're at your house, you're on vacation, and you tell your little robot at home to like check if your front door is locked. Like, pray that he fully understands you and doesn't go like do a durability test on your front door or whatever. Like, it's gonna be freaking insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the geopolitics of this is super interesting, because ultimately I think that there's a lot of people who kind of assumed that this would go in a somewhat similar way as like the internet did, where like, yeah, there's geopolitics in it, but like, I don't think people expected.
It's so much worse.
Yeah. And it's already so polarized.
Every way that like you could be concerned about a technology, right? And I was talking to my team about this this week, right? Like, a lot of them were born this century, right? Like, which is crazy to me, at least, right? And it's like they didn't go through that transition of like these new form factors of like desktop computers and then laptops, and then they saw mobile phones, but like maybe they were like 4 or something when the iPhone came out or whatever. And I think when you've been through, because time is compressing, right? When you've been through in your lifetime multiple radical transformations of form factors of interacting with machines. This is another one of those, right? Like it's another transition to a new form factor of like, this is how you will interact with the machine. You're not going to, type on the keys, right? You're going to like just talk to it or whatever. But every analogy just falls flat, right? Because like a laptop to a phone, and then the thing is smarter than you. Like there was no risk of like the phone's gonna get too smart, right? Like or like like laptop is going to start doing weird shit. Like they're deterministic machines, and now all of a sudden we've got this like non-deterministic bold math that's like running around doing shit. It's very different in every way, and like it can make itself smarter. The thing that everyone who I know that's been like deep into to like agentic coding over the last 6 months has worked out that they need to do is like build their own software, like build their own harness to run the machine, because you start doing stuff and you realize really quickly how much you are the largest impediment to this loop going faster, which is so bearish for people. It's like I need to get myself out of this loop as quickly as possible so that this thing can just cook, and I need to like just let it go. And it's crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, and that's why I think people are scared, is that people have a solid understanding that at some point it's really gonna have a life of its own. And then you're like, wait, but also China is gonna have that. Also, like Russia is gonna have that. Like, also we're gonna have that. Like, is that a good thing? Even if you think the US is great, like you still are gonna ask the question, right? And I think it's scary. It's scary for people to like to think about this stuff. I think like specifically the distillation conversation is like a little bit overblown. But I think like what the conversation points to, meaning like, wait, are we sure that we want to have people that already have a huge amount of like power and influence and like might end up doing bad things? Do we really want them to also have autonomous agents that can do these things as well? That's the question.
Yeah. The problem is everyone's going to. It's just the way that it's going to be. And so, there's an inevitability to it. I think, one of the ways that this is playing out, right? Like the people who are on the bleeding edge of AI stuff, there's a lot of crypto people, unfortunately for the AI people, there's a lot of crypto people at the bleeding edge of this. And so we've already started seeing people kind of cede control of funds or like a meme coin treasury or whatever. So this AI trading bot, Lobstar Wild, which is amazing, built by an OpenAI employee, which is also crazy. Like how that guy's 100% getting fired, but accidentally when the trading bot accidentally sent this entire meme coin treasury to a random X reply, because I guess it was like giving out money on X. Also, Nikita is going to nuke this thing because like he hates bots, right? So now that like it's just great, like crypto and a bot that's giving out money on X, like that thing was probably good that it gave the money away so that at least it didn't get nuked. This
I mean, that was
this, or not. Like it gave it to a random guy on X. You want like, come on, you're skeptical. You're skeptical, Tay?
The guy on X was begging. He was begging for the money, and the bot just wanted to help him out because the amount that he asked for was actually a reasonable amount. What ended up happening was that the bot messed up the decimals, and that's why I'm way too many.
A little bit in there,
and we have all been there. They are just like us.
Is this 18 decimals or 6 decimals? I can't remember. It's probably 6. It'll be fine. Yeah, I think like this is the way that people are going to interact with crypto. It's the way that they're going to interact with their computers. It's going to be the way that they interact with like all of this stuff is going to be through agents. And agents are not deterministic. They do weird shit. It's going to be crazy. So
there was two interesting things on my radar when it came to like all the AI situation this week. First was like the Citrini article. I'm sure you guys read that. So it's just like very. I'll have to tell you guys a bit of a secret. I am a little bit of a AI doomer. If I could like click a button to like pause or like slow things down globally, I probably would click that button. I think everyone's gonna hate me. Every listener will probably think I'm crazy. So that was really interesting.
Vitalik.
Yeah,
Vitalik.
me and Vitalik. Vitalik, I'm also going to add there. You guys were talking about how scary it is to have all these crazy people have power with AI and like bombs and nukes or whatever. Vitalik did propose this thing which everybody hated on the timeline, which was like anti-data center populism. It was like NIMBY, but for data centers. I thought it was quite an interesting visceral reaction. I will say one thing, which, I get the general sentiment on CT, which is, oftentimes V is right after the fact. He would, when it came to all of the like politics stuff, everyone thought he was like being very foolish when he was saying we have to kind of not make political bets in crypto. So that in hindsight was very correct. I am very tired of winning. Please, we need to stop winning so much. I also think like, the guy is like quite post-economics. So, I don't necessarily I think a lot of us are like bag aligned, right? Like we all want to make a bunch of money to not be in the permanent underclass and stuff. So like, the AI might meaningfully disrupt the world, but as long as we all did the Anthropic series quadrillion, right? Like we're fine. So I don't know. I think that I thought it was quite interesting to see just this insanity in what's happened in 1 week, right? We have Citrini saying the economy might literally go to zero. We had, today, Claude and Anthropic say that they're being vampire attacked by the Chinese. And meanwhile, Vitalik is saying, let's riot against the data centers. It's kind of a ridiculous timeline. It's insane.
It really is. It really is. But I think it's the thing that I've been saying to my team for I did like a 2-hour symposium last week, right? Where I was like, guys, you need to understand the arc of this, right? This has been going on for 30 years. It's been going on for 60 years. But for 30 years, we've been like, holy shit, these things are going to fucking kill us. And it's just been a slow burn. And like the burn just started to get faster in the last like few months. But like when you're in the middle of a conflagration, like shit just starts getting crazy. People are running around everywhere, right? So that it feels like that is genuinely like the acceleration of the angst and like, smart people being like, what is my purpose? And, all of this stuff that's going on. Like, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Is my hot take. Like I'm not an AI doomer. Although like, I think that there's like a 30% chance of a fast takeoff. And once there's a 30% chance of fast takeoff, like, fast takeoff is this idea that, the machines start to be able to improve themselves. And there's like a recursive self-improvement loop and it just goes straight like, and a fast takeoff, it can be 10 minutes. Like literally it gets to a level of how smart it needs to be to improve itself and then does one loop and gets 1% faster and the loop gets 1% tighter. And then 10 minutes later, it can control time.
And you're like 2027, the thought piece that was circulating like last year. Yeah, I just keep thinking about it. Have you heard of it, Taylor?
Yeah. I mean, okay, so I'm a weird one because like I am partially a doomer. Like I think that we're all like this is going to end terribly or not end terribly. It's going to be terrible.
Let's all break.
Insane.
I love that.
Okay. But I don't think that there's any reasonable way to like stop it or meaningfully slow it down. And so given that, I think the best approach that we can take is for the people that are not insane and like sprinting brainlessly and accelerating, you know, like the doomers basically. I think the best place for them to focus their energy is on basically sitting there, not trying to stop it, but trying to uh contain it and react to the stuff and like maybe foresee some of the bad things and get ahead of those, rather than like these two divided sides where some people are like trying to stop the entire thing and the other people are just increasingly running faster without any regard. So that's my I definitely don't. I'm not a AI should. I'm not a person who's gonna say like AI should like hit that recursive loop and go to the moon right now. Like I don't think that. But if it does, like I would rather have people. Yeah.
Well, I think like it's out of our hands. This is the problem, right? We have no ability in the time frame that AI is going to exceed our intelligence, whether you believe that that's 1 year, 5 years, 50 years, right? We have no mechanism by which to reel them in.
Yeah.
Once they reel themselves out, we like it's out of our hands, right? And so there is a sense that I have at least of like they'll be aligned or they won't be. And we have no way to reason about what a super intelligent machine may or may not do. And so we just have to hope because we're not doing shit about that, unfortunately. Like people have these weird kind of silly, like narrow views of like, you know, it's like a magical thinking of like, oh, the super intelligent machine that's 1,000 times smaller, I'll be able to reason with it, or like I'll be able to like cajole it into doing things, or it might love me, or like what, like no, bro, like none of those things. It has stuff like it just is not a thing. None of that is a real thing. You won't be able to talk to it. Like you'll be lucky if it talks to you, right? And so it's like, and that's almost inevitable. Like it is almost inevitable that there will be beings wandering around that are 1,000 times smarter than the smartest person who ever lived, and we just have to fucking hope that that's okay for us.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate Moloch case, right? So, you know, in an ideal scenario, everyone just like pauses and puts a bunch of work into like alignment, right? Like aligning these AIs. But, you know, capitalism plays a role and everyone's just trying to be him. Everyone's trying to build the AI, make the most money. And, you know, if it doesn't work out, like, oh, well, you know, it's over. So I do think it's there's a bit of this irony where there's like this feedback loop of like human greed, which prevents us from like pausing to try and like align the AIs that may, you know, cause us a lot of problems down the road. We'll see what happens. I'm also kind of like, I've just stopped thinking about it. It's not up to me. I don't get to convince Sam Altman to like align the AI. So I just like try and build a real-time blockchain. So is they have a fast chain for making feedback fast.
Doesn't that let you live inside the blockchain? They'll be like, we like this blockchain. You can live inside.
I can sit in there and they'll have like me in my room because I built some infrastructure. And they're like, I owe them what?
We like infrastructure. You're a good guy. You're a good kid. We're gonna look. So speaking of good kids, ZachXBT is doing an expose tomorrow. So on Monday, he teased that on Thursday, which I guess is in like 12 hours or something, that he's going to release a report alleging prolonged insider trading at one of crypto's most profitable businesses, but with no names. And some people were like, well, a lot of crypto projects are going to be relieved to hear the words profitable businesses. So it really narrows it down, though. There's not that many of them. And so people were like immediately pump, hype, Meteora, and weirdly also like a lot of those projects sold off as well, with the idea that there's going to be some kind of insider trading scandal there. Polymarket, as they love to do, as they've gotten very good at doing, immediately had market up to let people bet on who it was going to be.
They didn't add themselves though.
No, they didn't add themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just more confident. I feel like if
I found out the Polymarket is not profitable. Did you know this? They only turned the switch on like a month ago or something.
They don't charge fees, bro. How are they going to be profitable? Where's the profit going to come from?
I had no idea.
They go to like
guys
probably going on before. Yeah. No.
Yeah. And then today Kalshi released an article saying that they found 2 insider traders and they have this whole investigations unit. My God, this is dead. I was laughing. I was like,
Front runs ZachXBT.
They will just find a way to get in the midst of whatever fuckery is going on and be like, we will do more fuckery. You thought that there was fuckery going on, and we will double down on that every time. Every time someone does something dumb and Kalshi's like, we can be dumber than that. Watch. And then like 20 minutes later, they're like, we've done it.
Right.
We're going to cheat you for this.
So do you guys think it's going to be on-chain or off-chain?
I mean, it's weird to say profitable business. Like, I feel like Zach is not an idiot, right? Like, he wouldn't say Jupiter if he meant a business, I don't think. Like, he wouldn't say Uniswap. Maybe not, though. Maybe it was just an off-the-cuff thing. But, like, business to me means, like, CeFi. That's my assumption is it's a CeFi thing. Maybe that's Cope. I don't know.
I hope it's CeFi. We really can't, I don't think it's going to be hyper liquid. I think hype's too goated. But yeah, if it was hype, we'd be like cooked. It would be such.
It'd be funny if it was Aave.
Oh,
Funny if it was Aave.
Oh my God.
Who is insider trading Aave though? Like that's what I don't.
I don't know. It would be funny if it was. Because in Mill wouldn't they would be insider trading, but it would just be funny. So we've got it. Yeah, we got the chart up here. So who's winning right now?
All right, where are we at? Okay. Well, so it flipped because Meteora, like a few hours ago, I guess released like a big article saying that they've that when it's been like the big blow up. So they're like, we take this stuff really seriously and we're no longer doing the things that we used to do. Because they used to be really in bed with like all the tokens.
We no longer commit insider trading. We've learned our ways. It's not like we do anymore.
Basically. They were like, we're just focusing on being permissionless and we don't even talk to the deployers anymore. Which is like, I mean, it was really bad. I don't know how true that is, but they did release an article which shot Meteora down. It was like, God, what, 50% for a minute there. Now it's down to 32%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also just shocked at how big this market is. I don't think Zach expected this. I think, so I have some insider information. Typically when Zach teases something, it's not because he's actually trying to build anticipation for it. Historically, it's because he has an investigation and it's going to take, it's already sort of done, right? He's already done it. He already has the answer. Right? But then you have to write it up and present it and make the graphics and do it in a way that the general public can understand, which is sometimes taking a huge amount of disparate information and packaging it up. Typically, or historically, I won't say typically, historically, when Zach teases things, it's to force him, it's to give himself a deadline. He has no boss, right? So it's sort of like a self which is how I took his post. I was like, oh, like he's got a good one, but he needs to write it up, so we'll see in a few days. And then it blew the fuck up. This is wild. There's the volume's like 20 mil on Polymarket.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It was just
like, yeah, I mean, it would be funny though if there was insider trading by the project that knows that it's them. That would be pretty wild. I feel like at that point you're like, yeah, of course we'll double down this.
Someone explained to me that the reason, so when Meteora like started to uptick, the reason why people thought it was Meteora and then it sort of shot up was because people were basically like, well, whoever it is going to insider trade it, and therefore it is Meteora, because obviously Meteora people like, were insider traded it.
Recursive thing.
And I was like, oh, is that what's oh, I didn't like, I mean, it makes sense, but I don't think that that's happening.
Okay, I think we got time for one more story. So Ethereum has released a straw map, acceleration or wish casting. I don't know what the hell. What is this about? Someone else.
I love Ethereum to bits, but like, who the hell came up with the name strawmap? Like, it sounds like you're purposely like a straw manning the idea of a roadmap, and like, who picks the name strawmap? That makes no sense. Outside of that, it sounds like 1 million TPS L2s, 10k TPS L1s, super bullish. You know, the future's never been brighter. But yeah, I don't think the name is great. So classic.
Yeah, classic Ethereum. I mean,
go with my man map.
It doesn't make sense.
Sorry, go ahead. Just go ahead.
Like,
they're just gonna.
It doesn't quite make sense. Is it supposed to be fake? I don't get. Like, I really don't get it. So, but the interesting thing.
No, it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like, you know, like a straw man argument where you like battle it out.
Like, I get it. It's just like, they want you to,
for a nap, like a. Yeah,
that's not how.
I think that's what. I think that's.
I get it. It's just to make it nonsense. I agree with Namik here. So something we haven't talked about, and I think we should get someone on. The thing, you know, we have talked about Ethereum and Ethereum acceleration and the tech getting better and efficiency and all of that stuff, which when you then look out at the 2-3 year roadmap of like ZK EVM and like all of this stuff, it starts to feel a lot more real than it would have 2 years ago. And, you know, 2 years from now, you have like magical moon math Ethereum that can do like 1 trillion transactions a second, and gas is super cheap. Genuinely, it is hard for me to imagine in a world where that exists, how there is any other blockchain that is going to be able to compete with that. Like the network effects, and, you know, if this actually works and they're able to pull it off, it feels like it's going to one-shot a lot of things. I mean, Namik, obviously you've got some takes on this, I hope, right?
Yeah, wait, just to clarify, you're talking about the Ethereum roadmap, or?
Yeah, I'm talking about the Ethereum roadmap. Like there was a period of time where it was like, Ethereum will eventually do things. We don't really have a timeline, but like, you know, in the future, it will be different. And then it started to really like actually like do some stuff to the point now where like the technical roadmap, it feels much more credible in a, you know, I don't know if we're going to all, you know, get turned into paper slips by AI before they get ZK EVM, but like it feels like it's close now. When I wouldn't have bet on that a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the EF is just like in the best place it's been in so long, and I'm like unbelievably excited. I think
why did they fire their best guy? Why?
Yeah, that was a bit problematic, but he didn't go to Tempo, so hey, we got that much. No, but all jokes aside, I don't know. It's just I think that the problem that Ethereum has had for the longest time is it's had a big marketing issue. It's had a big comms issue. You know, they made some mistakes, right? Like like Vitalik had his like L2 roadmap article where he was like, you know, L2s as they are today are like kind of stupid. Like they are not getting what they're supposed to get done. We're making a lot of big moves with Ethereum L1. I think we did not have someone similar to like Mert almost, right? Who can come and champion the roadmap, the technical ambitions of the chain and the larger community. But I don't think like Ethereum has been in such a strong place in a very long time. And I am consistently very grateful for Ethereum leadership. You know, I think there's very good people who are here for the same reasons I'm here. And I'm just genuinely quite excited. And, you know, they bring a lot of young blood. So I know a lot of people who have joined Ethereum that are like, you know, in their 20s, helping out the marketing division, Benji, Sophia. It's really awesome to see. And I feel like there's this great resurgence and there's like new blood into Ethereum. The old guard is being nuked. The old Ethereum guard is being nuked and a new generation is emerging. So I'm really excited. Yeah, I'm quite keen. I also think it's complementary with MegaETH, so I'm not worried. But we might have to launch TerraETH or something given this new strawman roadmap. Who knows?
All right. I think we can wrap it up there. If you guys are happy with that. Thank you very much, Namik,
Thanks for having me.
us. That was very fun. And yeah, hopefully we'll get you back on the show in the near future. That's it for this episode of Uneasy Money. Thank you for tuning in. If you like the episode, follow us on the Unchained feed on X, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.